Hi, in this lesson we are going to lay the foundation for a new Laravel project, a login registration web application. I'll start by opening two command prompt windows in my admins folder. One will be used to start the built-in Laravel server and the other one to issue commands by using the Laravel's command line tool, Artisan. Let's start by creating a new project. I'll do that by typing composer create project Laravel/Laravel, followed by the name of my project, which I decided to call it library, and ending by using the pref dist option, which will speed up our project creation process. While the project is created, I will open up phpMyAdmin and will create a new database for this project. I'll name the database library and will click create. Next I will open up my code editor and I will drag and drop the library folder over the Sublime text editor. As soon as we see the line access key set successfully, we are ready to go. I will start the built-in Laravel server by using the php artisan serve command. Next, I will copy the URL for the server and will paste it in my browser. The URL is localhost on port 8000. Great, we can access the default Laravel page, which means that our project has been successfully set up. First, I will try to access an invalid route, one that is not defined in my routes file. I can type anything here, as the only route available right now is the one that displays our homepage. So I will type login and will receive an error. This is the Laravel's way of letting us know that something went wrong, but we don't have more details about the actual error right now. Let's see where these details are stored. I'm going to access the Laravel's log file located in the storage and then inside the logs folder. The file is called laravel.log. By opening this file, we can observe right on the first line the error that Laravel has generated, a not found HTTP exception error, in other words, a page not found error. Now that we saw how to get more information about Laravel errors, wouldn't it be more helpful to display these errors right on the browser without digging through this log file? Let's see what we can do about this. I'm going to open up the config folder and the app.php file inside it. This is the main configuration file for our app. On line 16, we can see that the debug mode is disabled by default or set to false. This is great for a production environment, but until we get to that point, let's enable debugging by setting its value to true. Back in our browser and let's refresh the page. A nice styled error page is now displayed instead of the simple error message that we get earlier. We can see the not found exception error message, and if we double check with our log file, we can see the same message error is displayed here, so we can use the error displayed in the browser from now on. Let's continue with our project. We have created a database to hold the project's data, but we didn't set up Laravel to use this database so far. That's why I'm going to open up the database.php file located in the config folder and will jump on line 55, which holds the MySQL database configuration array. First, I will change the host of my server from localhost to its IP address, which is 127.0.0.1. Next, I will type in my database name, which is library, and my username, root. As for the password, I don't have any password set up right now for the database, so I will leave this field blank. Finally, I will save the file. Let's get back to our routes.php file. Right now the file contains the default route, the one that displays the Laravel's logo along with the text "You have arrived." This page is displayed by creating a view, one called Hello. I'm going to delete the hello.php file located in my views folder because I will not use it in this project. Next, let's see how we can rewrite the route get function to use a controller. As you remember, the Laravel is an MVC framework, where C stands for controller. In Laravel, the controller is highly tied with the route, so I'm going to use one in my routes files. The controller is the one who connects models and views. For small projects, it's fine to insert the controller's code in the routes.php file, so you could get away without using an actual controller. But for more complex projects, you will want to keep the routes file as simple as possible, and we can do this by using a controller in this case. I will delete the closure of my route and will declare an array. This array will contain two elements. One will be called as, and this will be an alias for this route. I'll show you later how we can use this alias. We'll set its value to home, as this route will represent the homepage of our app, and the second element of the array will be called uses. This one defines a controller to use. We'll set its value to user controller, and we'll use the @sign to declare a function that our controller will use in response to this route. So, when this route will be called, we'll respond with a controller, which in our case is user controller, and inside this we will declare a function which will call it home that will respond to this request. Let's refresh the browser's page one more time, and this time another error, class user controller does not exist, is returned, because we didn't create our controller yet. In order to do that, I will navigate to the controllers folder, and as we can see, inside there is already a file called basecontroller.php. Basecontroller is the class that our custom controllers will extend. So I'll create a new file and we'll declare a class called userController, which extends the basecontroller class. I will then save the file as usercontroller.php, and before being able to test our app, I will need to declare a function inside this controller, one that will deal with the homepage request. In routes.php, I call this function home. So back to our controller, I will create a new public function called home, which takes no parameters at this time. We'll simply return a text from this function, so we will be able to test it. I'll save the page, and by refreshing the browser again, I can see the text displayed on the screen, meaning that our controller is working properly. Let's get back to our command prompt window and let's create the migration files. I'll first switch to my projects folder, and then we'll use the Laravel's command line artisan. In order to obtain more information about the artisan command, you can use the help option. As you can see, the main artisan options are being displayed. But what if you want to see more details about a specific command? Let's say that the command we want to get more info about is migrate make. We simply write the command, but we put the help word before the actual command that we want to get more details about it. The options for the migrate make command are now displayed. As we can see, there is a create option which will allow us to specify the table that we want to be created. Let's use this option and see what happens. I'll start by using php artisan migrate make command, followed by create users table and ending with -- create option and giving the name users as the table that we want to create. Now that our migration file has been created, let's navigate to the database folder, and inside the migration folder we can find a new file. By opening the migration file, we can see that the Laravel has generated more boilerplate code for us. It has already used the schema create function in order to create the users table, has already declared two fields for us, which are increments and timestamps, and also used the schema drop function to delete the table when running the rollback command or the down function. This is quite handy. We only need to add the columns that we want our table to hold, and I'll start by using the string function to declare a new column called username, which will contain up to 50 characters and will be unique. Another column or field will be email, also of type of string, containing up to 50 characters and also unique. Then we'll put the password. It's important to note that even if we use a short password containing 5 characters, for example, we'll have to assign enough space in our database for the hashed value of this password, which could be up to 60 characters long. So, we'll store the password encrypted in our database, and even for a short password, the encrypted value can get longer, up to 60 characters or more. We'll set the length of the password to be 100 just to play on the safe side. And the last field of our table will be remember token, which is a required field used in Laravel starting with version 4.1.26 or higher. This field will hold our token for the Remember Me feature of the app. We'll discuss more about this subject later. It's important to include this field in our database, and this will be a string with a length of 100 characters. Let's save the file, and before running our migration, let's add a new one that will hold our books. Let's presume that this app will be used as a library where a user can lend or borrow books from the library. I'll use the same command php artisan migrate make, but this time we'll say create books table, and we'll finish with the create option and the table to be created, which will be books in this case. Now that the migration file has been generated, let's open it up and declare our database fields for the books table. Same as the users table, Laravel has generated the code to create the table, drop it, and even inserted two fields by using the increments and timestamps function. I will add a new string column and we'll call it title, which will hold our book title. We'll assign its length up to 100 characters. Next, I will create a new string field with the name author and 100 characters long. Or let's rename this to writer, as we used in the previous project. Finally, I will add a new integer field called user ID that will hold our ID for the user that borrowed the book from library. For simplicity, I will presume that the relationship between users and books will be one-to-many, meaning that one user can lend many books from the library, but only one book of the same title will exist in the library. One thing that I forgot to mention when created the user's migration file is that I need to set up the remember token field to accept null values, and we'll do this by using the nullable function. Now that our migrations are set up, let's run the migration command. But before doing that, we need to create the migrations table, so we enter php artisan migrate install and press enter. And finally, we can run our migrations by using the php artisan migrate command and responding with yes at the confirmation that appears. Great! Both our migration files have been run successfully. Let's verify this by using the phpMyAdmin web client. So if I click on the library database, we can see that 3 tables have been created for us. one for users, another one for books, and the last one used internally by Laravel, called migrations. So, in this lesson we started a new Laravel project called library. We also discussed about how to implement controllers in our app, and we then created our migration files for the database table that our app will use. See you in the next lesson when we'll talk about how to seed our database with data.